Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. This is our review show, and we're looking back at a fantastic senior championship final that we witnessed on Sunday between Crossmaglen and Clann Eireann. Clann Eireann ended a wait of 53 years to make the final and ended 58 years of hurt to finally get their hands on the senior championship title. I'm joined by Stefan Cusack once again, and we're going to reflect on the game. And Stefan, first of all, Clann Eireann ending 58 years of wait, and the nice thing about it was that the Jerry Fagan Cup is called after the last captain from Clann Eireann to win the championship. They got over the line eventually, and what a dramatic finish! What a dramatic last 15 minutes.
Yeah, as you say, it was just a neutral watching into the game. It was a great last 15 minutes. It was end to end and high intensity and high drama. I don't think she's played 100 games if it end up like that, but just mistakes from both teams and teams going for it, and still had to give somewhere, and fair play to both sets of players. They never gave up and went to the end, and as you said, just the drama at the end, that goal going in with maybe a minute left in ordinary time to put Clann Eireann a point up. It was panic stations for Cross, and just it was really good watching it as a neutral, so it was, not really caring who won, but just as a drama itself, as a final, that's the kind of way you want the final to end up as a neutral, like nip and tuck the whole way and no clear winner until right into the final whistle. So it was good to see in that part,
And I think being a neutral, looking on, you're nearly unconsciously always, hoping the underdog can do something. And Clann Eireann, massive underdogs coming into the game, but I think people did give them a chance. Like if you weren't tipping them, you definitely felt that they could give Cross a game. But that last at the second water break, Cross was winning 11-6. They had been winning 11-5 just before it. Like, I definitely felt the game was over. I didn't see, yes, Clann Eireann might get a goal and, pull themselves back into it, but I definitely didn't see Clann Eireann coming back to win it.
No, as you said, I think they all give Clann Eireann a wee bit of a chance coming into the game. It was just probably, we were thinking the experience they hadn't got. With Cross being the final year in, year out, that made us been enough to see them over the edge. But Clann Eireann, fair play to them, just they showed up on the day and they got the job done. But as you said, like 11-5 going into the last water break, and that water break had to come at that stage because Cross were hitting that bit of a purple patch, got 6 unanswered scores, and actually looked like maybe just going on scoring a few only for the water break to come. But whatever Tommy said to them boys in that huddle, Clann Eireann just went out and just pressed the button, just finished the game up, outscored Cross in the last 15 minutes, 2-7 to 5 points. Just really went at them, pressed really high. You could see Henderson around the middle of the field just organising everything. Tiernan McConville was just put under pressure, and with him kind of aiming for rain the whole match, nobody really else in the team was like stepping up. So with the ball going around all the time, Clann Eireann could really take a chance of doubling up on the rain, and the ball just kept going in and in Cross, and they couldn't get it out. So Clann Eireann really stood up in that last 15 minutes, and the sub bench rolling them 2 bites off, and they ended up getting the 2 goals. Just as we keep saying, in the Mahari match, in the Ballyclare match, and then Cross in the final. Just strength in numbers and pure pace, and pure just legs, just won them the game again,
And we have to talk about them too, boys, because I spoke to Tommy after the game, and you're always looking yourselves to make an impact, and I don't think you could make much more of an impact than coming on and hitting a goal. But Rory McDonald and Jack Conlon both scoring goals, and we'll talk about Conlon's maybe in a wee second. It was the luckier or flukier of the two, maybe we should say. But for your 2 subs to be coming in and get 2 goals, Stefan, like, it's incredible that that happened. And Tommy was saying, like, he's nearly waiting on them now to come and complain about not starting, that they have such big impacts every time they come in.
Well, that's it. Nowadays, the way GS did nowadays, it's actually your strongest team for finishing the matches. If you look at Dublin, their strongest team generally finishes the match. But Clann Eireann, them 2 guys, games, and just injected a little bit more adrenaline into that team. So they have, as you said, Tommy couldn't have dreamt it the night before about making decisions. He couldn't have dreamt it better. Actually, Colin hit the ball into Rory or to McDonald for that goal. Just come on and made an immediate impact. Two really good. I actually did. Colin actually got a point there too. So for 2-1, they scored the last 15 minutes. Just won in the game, you know. And with fresh legs around you, it just gives the rest of the team that wee bit of a boost, you know. So definitely two good players that have come on and really changed the game in the last league, the quarter final, semi-final, and final, you know. So just perfect really for Clann Eireann.
And Conlon's goal, I think we'll have to say, like it's hard for Tiernan McConville. He'll not want to see that one back anytime soon. And Tiernan has had such a good year in between the sticks for Crossmaglen, and he must have just misjudged the bounce of it. He obviously, by his reaction, I felt the ball was going wide too, looking at his reaction, but it clipped the inside of the post and it ended up in the net. And Clann Eireann won't care about how it come along. It went into the net and it put them a point up.
It's just the way Colin kicked it. He kind of sliced it in. It was always going to move from right to left, and TK in there wrestling with Morgan. And with TK wrestling with Morgan, Morgan couldn't get any hands on it and let the ball bounce. And as you said, for watching it on TV, it definitely looked like it was going wide, and just Tiernan just misjudged it. But hey, we all make mistakes. Made mistakes like that before in games and give away goals and cost ourselves championship matches. But Tiernan's young. He's come back from it, and he's had the last 3 or 4 years. He's been really good. So he'll probably just have a hard couple of weeks, but he'll have good guys around him who won't blame him for that. There, you know, I'm sure he's put cross-arm holes in years gone by. So he needs to just put that to bed and move on. You know, it's too good of a keeper that's worry about that there. You know, he'll have probably plenty of opportunities coming down the years, I'm sure, till fix that. You know.
And we talked about Clann Eireann missing chances. We're going to talk about their first quarter and their third quarter. Between the two, they only got 1 point. They scored 1 point in the first quarter and didn't score in the third quarter. Probably you can put it down to nerves within the first quarter. The first couple of shots they had, they were missing them. Their intentions was clear early. They were going to lump the ball into Turbo, to TK, and whoever else was in there around the square. But it just wasn't coming off. They just couldn't get. They just had their shooting boots with them. Their end product wasn't good enough, but they were creating so many chances that if they had a took them chances, maybe they were ending up winning by 5 or 6.
As you said, like, both teams started the game really well, and it was end to end. Both in the first 15 minutes must have got 6, 7, 8 chances, you know. But a wee bit of nervy, lack of composure from Clann Eireann at the start. But I was really worried for Clann Eireann because they were creating the chances. It'd been worse if they weren't creating them. They started really strong, defending the ball in long, Turbo. He was winning everything. It was just because Ollie was letting a few things go. Cross could kind of maybe a bit more aggressive with Turbo, and they got the ball out a few times. Morgan turned the ball over a few times, but they definitely created the chances. But the snatching of the shots, that wee bit of composure just wasn't there. And it probably took maybe 10, 15 minutes to get themselves up to the speed of the game. But probably the same. In games, both teams get a wee purple patch. And Cross's purple patch came at the start of the second half. Scored 6 scores, but Clann Eireann's defence was tight the whole match. Like, I know they conceded 16 scores, but I thought their defence the whole night was brilliant. They didn't score for a long period, 15-minute periods, and on any odd day you would get beat. But because their defence was really so tight and assured, and Henderson organising and Nathan back there sweeping, and Shea just had a stormer all night, I always felt they were still in the game because they were creating chances. You know what I mean? It was just because they were snatching at their shots, but they definitely were never out of the game at any stage. And 11-5, 15 minutes ago, it didn't look great, but they're always in the game because their defence is so tight, you know, throughout the game.
And we're going to talk about their defence, and I want to talk about their matchups. So much was made of it last week. I don't know, on the podcast last week, me and Peter Nugent were scratching our heads trying to make up the matchups, and we weren't sure how it was going to pan out. I suppose from a Clann Eireann point of view, they're going to be over the moon with how their matchups went. You had McCarthy on Rian O'Neill, you had McCambridge on Oisin, and Heffron on Cian McConville inside. And I want to set aside Shea Heffron a wee bit. We're going to talk about him fully in just a wee moment, and we have an interview coming up with Shea at the end of the podcast as well. But for Clann Eireann's matchups, they worked a treat, and I know we've said it all the time. Rian O'Neill, you're never going to hold him scoreless. He still scored 5 points yesterday and still had a big impact on the game. But Sean McCarthy will be pleased with how he done on McCambridge the same.
Yeah, no, as I said, Tommy, couldn't give Tommy enough praise there yesterday. His matchup, substitution, everything was perfect for him. Didn't see the McCarthy one coming on Rian. but played really well. You touched on it already. It's hard to keep rain out of the game, regardless if you're on the outcome or not. But he was they kept him limited to 5 points, only 3 from play, 2 from play. And McCarthy got into the game himself, but done a really good job. He was never within always within 5 yards of him, always tracked him the whole way up the pitch. And Rain didn't have the kind of dominance he would have had in the previous maybe 3 finals that he had yesterday. But no, McCarthy was outstanding yesterday, had a really good game, and McKimmer is the same. Oisin 2 points from play, but he wasn't in the Oisin really wasn't in the game. He came in spells, in and out of spells, but he wasn't linking up all the time. Comiskey was getting on the ball more, and Finnegan was getting on the ball, and Tony Kieran was getting on the ball, but Oisin always seemed to he never had space to get on them. McKimmer was just was in his face the whole time, and he done a really good job on him, And McKimmer's even going the other way out of the attack. So you gotta say McKimmer's got the better of Oisin now yesterday, which is not easy done.
And I mentioned Shea Heffron. I suppose there's a couple of boys I'm gonna pick out. Heffron's the first one, and just the standout thing from yesterday when I mentioned Shea Heffron was a ball in the second half that was played. Oisin O'Neill had moved inside because Cian McConville was getting no return off Shea Heffron, so he came out and Oisin O'Neill had moved in. There was a ball played in, and if Shea Heffron had missed it, it was a goal chance for Cross, and he lunged at it, got a touch to it, and Clann Eireann got the ball back. And I suppose that just summed up Shea Heffron's performance. It was heroic in that full back line.
Yeah, it was kind of like a flawless performance, Brian. Can't mind one ball win yesterday he didn't win. That one you touched on there was just he took a chance, but he backed himself to get a hand in, and he's just Oisin in there yesterday, McConville in there yesterday, the nothing, even Raymond in for a wee period yesterday. Didn't really do much damage at all. The nurse three probably the better player in Armagh, and he dealt with it playing them. Really good coming out with the ball. He was just dominant yesterday. Everything, and even in the last play, in the 63 minutes, the ball came in and he caught it. It was just it really now a really good performance by him. Now really assured and dominant now,
And I want to point out Ryan Henderson as well. One of the most experienced players on the team, obviously. Henderson, he's been about quite a while now playing for Clann Eireann, and obviously his first county final. When things weren't maybe going well, it didn't look good. I felt Henderson really stood up. I think he created the first goal. I think he won the kick out that created the first goal. He got a couple of important tackles in. He come up and kicked a point. And that third quarter, really, he stepped up and got Clann Eireann back into the game.
He did, yeah. As you said, especially after the water break. You can just say he's telling me he's manager on the pitch. You can just see him. He's organising. He's bringing out people into the game, and he's always making himself available for the ball. When Cross were doubling up in players, Ram was always on outlet pass. He was always spreading the play and bringing everybody into the game. And he popped up with a score himself there, a really important score at that time. I think it was the fourth score after the water break. But no, a really good performance by him. I think he'd be happy enough for the performance he put in there yesterday, because when the things aren't going your way and you can feel the game going away from you, you need somebody with a calm head in the pitch to slow the game down. And Ram was up there yesterday for Clann Eireann, so he was.
I think the middle third, Stefan, was really enjoyable watching it from where we were on Armagh TV. Watching the thing unfold, you had the matchups, you had mostly Clann Eireann were looking to go long, but because they give up Paul Hughes, Crossmaglen were going short and Hughes was driving forward. There was some ferocious tackling and really great intensity around the middle of the field, some big hits. There was no crying or yapping. It was maybe old-fashioned the way to describe it. It was you get hit, you get up and you play on.
Yeah, well, I don't think Ollie refereeing, I don't think Cram doing any good anyway, so that's kind of no choice to get on with. But you said they were leaving Clann Eireann they were leaving Paul Hughes free, and they were happy enough for him to have the ball and coming out with it. But on that, straight after the second water break, Clann Eireann just pushed right up, forcing Campbell to kick it long. They wanted the midfield battle, but throughout the game, they were happy enough to let Tiernan just kick the ball out to Paul the whole time. And as soon as he got into the Clann Eireann defensive system, they were set up perfectly, because it took Crossmaglen 20-30 seconds up the pitch. Clann Eireann set up lovely on the harder breakdown. But The battle in the middle, Morris and Bell, was good. I would say Bell got the better of Morris. Morris wasn't really in the game yesterday at all. That's why maybe I think Tiernan was kicking the ball out to Rain the whole time, because Morris was battled up. So Rain was trying to do everything in there. And with him trying to do everything in there, Clann Eireann could afford to maybe put an odd man over there and double up on him, because they knew the ball was going to him. But I think Rain needed a bit more help around the middle there yesterday, and not everyone stood up there yesterday, I think, and that was maybe Crossmaglen's problem around that middle third. I think actually Clann Eireann got the bottom of them there because they're a lot wee bit hungrier and there more players willing to share the workload,
And were you surprised by that tactic of Clann Eireann leaving Paul Hughes free? Because I know, okay, the O'Neills and Morris are huge threats for a long kick out, but Clann Eireann have the bodies there, and we mentioned them: Bale, McCambridge, Sean McCarthy was in there, Ryan Henderson, Conor McConville, TK at times. They have enough big men that they were going to maybe win their fair share around the middle, but no, they decided maybe early on it was the right thing to do, just to get your defensive setup sorted on that. Once, as you said, Paul Hughes coming forward, give them time to get their defensive setup sorted.
Yeah, Clann Eireann backed themselves. So that defensive system really worked out well here, and it's moved on through the championship and it's got better. With Crossmaglen going short, that gave them the time to set it up, where they would have pressed and the ball would have come out over the top. Probably would have took maybe 6-7 Clann Eireann players out of the equation, and might have had time to set up. So they kind of worked that out well. They picked their moments when they press and they picked their moments when they drop off. And I think I would leave somebody else free other than Paul. But Paul, he's not the worst hooker in the world. He was coming up there, but they chose to leave him free and mark the other guys. And they picked him out to let the ball carry up the field. And as soon as he crossed into that 60-yard, 50-yard, then he was pressed. And more often than not, they actually did get the ball at him. So another good tactic by the Clann Eireann, and it worked out too.
And just before we finish up, Stefan, we ended last week's podcast sort of saying whatever happened on Sunday, what would it mean for Armagh Club football? Because if Cross won, will we enter in a new era of dominance, that they were in 4 finals in a row, winning 3? Or if Clann Eireann won, maybe it was a new era for Armagh football. Maybe it's becoming the most competitive championship it's been for. I see Niall McCoy tweeting maybe the early 90s was the last time it was this competitive. With Clann Eireann winning, and I suppose Mahary were knocking on the door for years. You had already won a title a couple of years beforehand, but Clann Eireann coming from Division 1B to win the championship, not really being a contender the last couple of years, it's going to give life to the other teams. And I suppose the likes of Clevey, that have been challenging Madden, that have got promotion. There's going to maybe be 7 teams that are really going to have, in their winter training now, their pre-season training, they're going to have their eyes in championship.
Oh, there is, as you say, going in the winter training here, there's a good 7 teams that are capable of winning the championship. I just think in Armagh, maybe outside of Armagh, we all put Cross on this bit of a pedestal because of what went years before, how dominant they were and how many All-Irelands and all sorts they won. But I think it showed maybe the last 4 or 5 years that they've come back to the pack a wee bit, and the pack's kind of caught them. So on any given day, Cross, Mahary, Clann Eireann, now Harps, there's nothing between them 4 sides. And then coming in behind, you have Clevey, Ballymcnabb, Madden. So there's 7. Clonagale comes down again. There's maybe 7, 8 teams that are really could be competitive. And if any one of them teams really won a championship, would it be a massive surprise anymore? I don't think so. So moving forward to next year, Clann Eireann have that bullseye on them now. They're the champions, and they're the team we all have to go and beat. So it'll be interesting to see where they'll handle that, because title's not easy to defend it, as we have found out a couple of times. But it's only good for Armagh football and for the championship itself that there's so many teams competing now. I don't think there's any one strong favourite now. I think there's just 5 or 6 teams that's really very close. There's not really that much between them, so it'll be an interesting next year to see what way that pans out, and we'll all be hoping our own sides now that we can lift another cup,
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot to look forward to, and it's so long away. It's obviously another year away. That brings our podcast to an end for the championship. We'll hopefully be back in a couple of weeks to bring you action from the Ulster Championship, and we'll be following all the Armagh sides throughout their campaigns in the hurling, camogie and the football. Thanks to everybody that has helped out through the championship. Thanks to Stefan, Peter, and Brian especially for their help on the preview show. That got a lot of good feedback and a lot of good views as well. Thanks to everybody that has helped on the podcast throughout the last couple of weeks and months. It's been really enjoyable. And as I say, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with the Ulster Championship. Make sure to keep viewing the Player of the Week and keep voting for who you feel was the Player of the Week, and they'll pick up a Player Fit Player of the Week jersey. We'll now hear, as I mentioned earlier, from the Clann Eireann captain, Shea Heffron, who spoke to us after the game. Stefan, once again, thanks very much, and I'll enjoy hopefully seeing you on the field again next year.
Bye.
Good morning, thank you, Stefan.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. Bye-bye.
Shea, thanks very much for coming on the podcast. It was a bit difficult getting you over here. There's so many hugs and so much joy there. It must be an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, as I said to a couple of lads there, like, it's just very hard to put these feelings into words. And, you know, I suppose, like, when we watch the game back in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a couple of months' time, we'll, I suppose, understand the magnitude of what we've done here today. It's just a fantastic feeling. And, you know, we met with the 1963 team, the last team to have won, Jerry Fagan and Clann Eireann, and they reflect so emotionally on the day that they won it. So I suppose it's just amazing for the club, amazing for the community, and thank God we just got over the line in the end.
And the Jerry Fagan you were chanting, he's coming home.
Yeah. I suppose. Look, we've grown up and we've watched so many lads, you know, fight gallantly within our club to get to this stage where we are today. So this is for them. This is for the lads who haven't had the opportunity to get to a county final and you know, take the cup home. So, you know, we're just delighted to represent the whole community and just, I suppose, get over the line in the end.
I don't know, talking to you a bit there, you weren't really sure what happened in that last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the other end of the pitch, but we went from 11-5 to just bringing it back, you know, in the end. But I'm sure, you know, when we watch it back, it'll reveal a few things. But it was, I suppose, just a bit of a blur. But yeah, the emotions then took over at the final whistle.
And that water break, as you say, is we're down 11-5. I felt, and I'm sure everybody felt, that was probably game over. Crossmaglen had really stamped their authority on the game, and they were probably going to take over in the last quarter. That didn't happen.
No, I suppose what we have developed over the past number of games is a belief in ourselves not to give up to the very end, and that showed in the Mahari game and the Ballymacnab game, whereby, you know, maybe it was in the balance coming into the last couple of minutes of the game, and we never give up and we pushed it over the line in those games. So, you know, this group of lads are exceptional. You know, I go in and I'm able to trust every single man that comes on that field and who takes that field, and that's not an environment that is cultivated overnight. You know, we have grown up together, we've had success together, we've had our losses together, but, you know, as I say, I can trust every man that takes that field and that battles with that Clann Eireann jersey on. So that's something special. And
Shea, how big has Tommy Coleman been in all this? Like, I know everybody felt you were going to win a championship at some stages of enough quality, but to win it this year, maybe earlier than people would have felt, how big has he been in getting you here?
Tommy's a fantastic man. He is the type of man that if he sees that maybe you're slightly down or you maybe haven't played as well, he'll put the arm around you, he'll encourage you, he'll make sure to make you feel that, you know, that wee bit special, or that wee bit, you know, encouraged to, I suppose, improve your game or try and make you feel a wee bit better. As I say, the whole management have left no stone unturned this year. They've answered all that we've thrown at them, and they've worked tirelessly, you know, for the past 18 months, 2 years, and we're forever indebted for them for getting us over the line too. Like,
and Shea, the two subs that come on, Rory and Jack, the 2 goal scorers, you can't ask for much more of an impact than that.
No, I mean, look, as you've seen in the past number of games, we have, I suppose, relied on our subs coming on and doing the business, and they've done the business in all of the games in this championship season. So I had no doubt that Rory and Jack and the likes of Paul McKenna that came on there, and like, those lads have talent coming out of their ears, and they have, you know, they're very courageous, very committed, and I said to you outside of this interview, this team's not just built on that 1 to 15 or the management. It's built on the lads that show up week in, week out, who may not be able to take the field, but give of their all and work so hard at training, and it's a credit to them as well.
And you've done it the hard way. You've beat Mahary, Ballincknabb and Cross, probably the 3 top teams over the last 4 or 5 years. That's probably the way you would want to win the championship.
Yeah, I mean, look, we went into this game knowing that we had been challenged and we had been put it up to, you know, by those 2 teams. And, you know, I suppose it goes with the old cliche, if you really want to win the championship, you've got to beat the best. And, you know, we showed that, and we beat the last year's winners and Cross and Glen and Ballincknabb this year. So, I mean, we did it the hard way, but it makes it even sweeter now.
Shea, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks very much, Sean.